all safe and happy at home. Our visit to Hendon will interest you, I'm sure, but I need not enter into the particulars of it, as your papa will be able to answer almost every question. I certainly could describe her bedroom and her drawers and her closet better than he can, but I do not feel that I can stop to do it. I was rather sorry to hear that she is to have an instrument. It seems throwing money away. They will wish the 24 guineas in the shape of sheets and towels 6 months hence, and as her playing, it can never be anything. Her purple pelisse rather surprised me. I thought we had known all paraphernalia of that sort. I do not mean to blame her, it looked very well, and I dare say she wanted it. I suspect nothing worse than its being got in secret, and not owned to anybody. I received a very kind note from her yesterday to ask me to come again, and stay a night with them. I cannot do it, but I was pleased to find that she had the power of doing so right a thing. My going was to give them both pleasure very properly. I just saw Mr. Hayter at the play, and think his face would please me on acquaintance. I was sorry he did not dine here. It seemed rather odd to me to be in the theatre with nobody to watch for. I was quite composed myself, at leisure for all the agitated Isabella could raise. Now, my dearest Fanny, I will begin a subject which comes in very naturally. You frighten me out of my wits by your reference. Your affection gives me the highest pleasure, but indeed you must not let anything depend on my opinion. Your own feelings, and none but your own, should determine such an important point. So far, however, as answering your question, I have no scruple. I am perfectly convinced that your present feelings, supposing that you were to marry now, would be sufficient for his happiness. But when I think how very, very far it is from a now, and take everything that may be into consideration, I dare not say, determined to accept him. The risk is too great for you, unless your own sentiments prompt it. You will think me perverse, perhaps. In my last letter I was urging everything in his favor, and now I am inclining the other way. But I cannot help it. I am at present more impressed with the possible evil that may arise to you from engaging yourself to him in word or mind than with anything else. When I consider how few young men you have yet seen much of, how capable you are, yes, I do still think you are very capable of being really in love, and how full of temptation the next 6 or 7 years of your life will probably be. It is the very period of life for the strongest attachments to be formed. I cannot wish you, with your present very cool feelings, to devote yourself in honor to him. It is very true that you never may attach another man his equal altogether, but if that other man has the power of attaching you more, he will be in your eyes the most perfect. I shall be glad if you can revive past feelings, and from your unbiased self resolve to go on as you have done, but this I do not expect, and without it I cannot wish you to be fettered. I should not be afraid of your marrying him. With all his worth, you would soon love him enough for the happiness of both. But I should dread the continuance of this sort of tacit engagement, with such an uncertainty as there is of when you think you want punishment for past illusions, there it is, and nothing can be compared to the misery of being bound without love. Bound to one in preferring another, that is punishment which you do not deserve. I know you did not meet, or rather will not meet, today, as he called here yesterday, and I am glad of it. It does not seem very likely, at least, that he should be in time for a dinner visit 60 miles off. We did not see him, only found his card when we came home at 4. Your Uncle H. merely observed that he was a day after the fair. We asked your brother Monday, when Mr. Hayter was talked of, why did he not invite him too, saying, I know he is in town, for I met him the other day in Bond Street. Edward answered that he did not know where he was to be found. Don't you know his chambers? No. I shall be most glad to hear from you again, my dearest Fanny, but it must not be later than Saturday, as we shall be off on Monday long before the letters are delivered. And write something that may do to be read or told. I am to take Miss Moore's back on Saturday, and when I return I shall hope to find your pleasant little flowing scrawl on the table. It will be a relief to me after playing at Mum's, for though I like Miss H.M. as much as one can at my time of life after a day's acquaintance, it is uphill work to be talking to those whom one knows so little. Only one comes back with me tomorrow, probably Miss Eliza, and I rather dread it. We shall not have two ideas in common. She is young, pretty, chattering, and thinking chiefly, I presume, of dress, company, and admiration. Mr. Zamford is to join us at dinner, which will be a comfort. And in the evening, while your uncle and Miss Eliza play chess, he shall tell me comical things, and I will laugh at them, which will be a pleasure to both. I called in Keppel Street, and saw them all, including dear Uncle Charles, who is to come and dine with us quietly today. Little Harriet sat in my lap and seemed as gentle and affectionate as ever, and as pretty, except not being quite well. Fanny is a fine stout girl, talking incessantly with an interesting degree of lisp and indistinctness, and very likely may be the handsomeness in time. That puss Casey did not show more pleasure in seeing me than her sisters, but I expected to know better. She does not shine in the tender feelings. She will never be a Miss O'Neill, more in the Miss Siddons line. Thank you, but it is not settled yet whether I do hazard a second edition. We are to see Egerton today, when it will probably be determined. People are more ready to borrow and praise than to buy, which I cannot wonder at. But though I like praise as well as anybody, I like what Edward calls pewter, too. I hope he continues careful of his eyes and finds a good effect of it. I cannot suppose we differ in our ideas of the Christian religion. You have given an excellent description of it. We only affix a different meaning to the word evangelical. Yours most affectionately, Jane Austen. Miss Knight, Godmersham Park, Faversham.